Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Ask Rob and Rob.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Ask Rob and Rob show, where you give us your questions in and we give you our answers. And we've got two brilliant questions coming up. But before we get into them, let's give you a quick reminder of how you can get your hopefully brilliant question in.
Yeah, the mechanics are super easy. All you've got to do is leave us a voicemail, and you can do that by calling 013 808 0035 or going to propertyhub.net/ask. But what should you ask? Well, you can ask us about absolutely anything. You can ask us about the market right now, ask us about inflation, ask us about areas, ask us about investing beyond property, ask us about the property businesses we run. You can go as broad as you like. Anything that's piqued your curiosity as you've listened to the property podcast, or do you think about property in general, send it our way. It's so easy. Just go to propertyhub.net/ask and leave us a voicemail following in the fine footsteps of Kevin.
Hi, Rob and Rob, Kevin here. I have a question for you I hope you guys can address. I'm looking to purchase an investment property, brand new to the market, kind of been waiting most of the year for my bonus from work, which has now come. Everything was looking good until I started doing the tax calculations, and the tax man is very happy and me less so. So my scope of property where I was looking in my catchment area has considerably changed, and what's come to light is student lets. I've seen quite a few cheap student lets in Manchester, Leeds area, Liverpool especially, very, very cheap. So for a first-time investor like myself, seeing these prices that are, less than a very expensive German car that most people drive around every day, is this a feasible, advisable route to take for my first investment in buy-to-let, to go down the student route? Like I say, the numbers are a lot more affordable. It's attractive, but yeah, it'd be really good if I can get some experts' opinion and views on this. Hopefully you guys hear this and can get back to me. Thanks.
Kevin, thank you for the question. I'm hearing warning sirens here. And I think it's okay because you're aware, and that means that you'll do things right. But there are some aspects of your question that are making me nervous. The first thing that's making me nervous is the C word, cheap. Cheap, you would think would be a good thing, but in property, it often isn't. So yes, you can go and pick up really cheap properties in lots of parts of the UK still, and they can be good investments, but they can also be problematic investments. They can look great on paper, but the reality can be quite tricky. This is compounded in your case by the fact that this isn't what you initially wanted to be investing in. That means you're already compromising on whatever your initial investment strategy was, and you're trying to fit the investment to your funds, which can be okay, but again, it's just another warning sign. Another thing I'm concerned about is student lets in particular, and I'm concerned about that for two reasons. The first is that student lets in general have struggled a lot from the rise of purpose-built accommodation. That doesn't mean that it can't work. It really, really can, and lots of people are still doing great with student houses. But if you're seeing cheap student lets in places like Manchester, Leeds and Liverpool, it could be because those have fallen out of favour. The demand isn't there anymore, and therefore the landlords are looking to sell up. Again, not necessarily, but you need to be really careful. And the other thing that concerns me about student properties is the fact that you've said this is your first investment. And again, people do make these as their first investment and they do very well. But I don't think it's the ideal. Running a student property is more work. There's more complexity. There's more you need to be aware of. So ideally, I think your first property would be a very boring, standard buy-to-let, buy and hold, sort of learn the basics before you move on from there. Now, this might all sound really negative, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying if you do it, go into it with an awareness of all these factors. That means that you will do your research, you will ask the right questions, and you will therefore only make an investment if it does work out. If you can make it work, fantastic. The fact that you're asking these questions now makes me confident that you will make a good go of it. But if you can't get comfortable, if you can't make it work, then I'd say don't force it. It might not feel like it, especially when you've got a load of cash sitting in the bank, losing value because of inflation. But waiting 6 months or a year until you're in a position to make the right investment for you is better than trying to force it and make a bad investment. So Kevin, definitely not trying to warn you off, but hopefully giving you some useful things to think about there.
Okie dokie. So, thank you, Kevin. Next in, we've got a question from Alex.
Hi, Rob and Rob. It's Alex from Somerset. Really love your podcast. Listened for the last year or so. Keep it up, guys. Fantastic. I'm just really asking in regards to if you've saved up a pot of money from your buy-to-let, so you've got your profit in total sat there. I'd like to know how you see the split of what to do with that money. So, for example, if you were to split some of the money towards, say, traveling, me and my wife would like to go off and travel the world, part of the money saved back for maintenance, and then part of the money possibly for either future investing or maybe even to pay off some capital. I just wondered how you both see that divide, that split, if it was on something like a pie chart, for example, or even if there was a general recommended amount or way to do this. Any help would be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. And this is a really good question because lots of people will be in the same situation. Your profits will be rolling in from your buy-to-let, well, hopefully, there will be anyway, and you've got to make a decision what you do with those funds. So the first piece of advice I would say is universal, and I would give this to everyone, which is to save up a pot, a contingency fund. Now, it will depend on the type of property, how much you save. For example, if it's a new build apartment, you will need less than, say, a Georgian or Victorian terrace. So the exact number is hard to say. But for me, I'd be looking in the range of £2,000 to £5,000 for that individual property. Now, once you've put that aside, profits will hopefully continue to roll in. And then you've got a decision. Do you reinvest or do you spend it on yourself? And the answer is, well, that's up to you, because it will depend on what's most important to you. If you want the best investment advice, the best investment advice is roll up those profits, reinvest it, grow that snowball, and financially you will do well in the future. But maybe this one property is enough and that's all you're ever going to need. And that's your pension play and that's fine. And you know what? If that's the case, then great. Good for you. Then feel free to spend that additional cash. Go wild. Enjoy yourself. Go for weekends away, whatever motivates you. Do that. That's absolutely awesome. But ultimately, it will come down to what's most important to you. And if that is you do need to invest more for the future, then maybe there's a compromise to be had. Maybe you can do an 80-20 split. Maybe put 20% into a lifestyle fund and 80% into the investment fund. Yes, it would be better if you put it all into the investment fund, but I also appreciate life is for living. And if you're unable to fund the things you want to do, like weekends away without that additional cash, then maybe that's a priority and that's something for you to decide. So as I've said, beyond the contingency pot, the rest is up to you. The best investment advice is to carry on saving and build your investment portfolio up further. But is that the best life advice? Maybe, maybe not, and only you can answer that.
So there you go, 2 more questions answered. And like I said earlier, if you've got a question of your own, however broad it may be, send it our way, 013 808 8835, or go to propertyhub.net/ask. That is us done for today, but we will see you again on Thursday for the Property Podcast. Until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.